Hello, welcome to Ragic Office Hour. This is Jeff. So let's get started with your questions. All right. First question, integration with Stripe. Best method for handling multiple payments on one invoice using Stripe's integration. I'm looking for a way to handle multiple payments on one invoice with Stripe integration. And is it possible to have the payment data post to my payment subtable once the transaction completes? Let's take a look. Okay. It's okay, so it looks like it's gonna have, and Lisa's looking for a way to host multiple payments from one invoice to Stripe. So right now, right now our Stripe integration supports one payment per record. And so if you really want to post from the invoice, it's currently not all that possible. But because you have these multiple payment data in the invoice as a subtable, so I think you could generate a new sheet from subtable and then do the Stripe payment from that new sheet, and you should be able to, pay each subtable amount individually on the new sheet created by the subtable. So, so my suggestion would be to, okay, first, currently Ragic only supports one payment per record. So paying directly from the invoice that requires multiple payments is not possible. But there's a reasonable workaround. You can create a new sheet from the subtable containing multiple payments. Okay, let me look for the create new sheet from subtable. Okay, new sheet from subtable. So if you have a subtable, you can create a new sheet that for each subtable row, it's a whole new record. So so that would be a payment detail sheet for the invoices. So let's say if you have two invoices with each of them have three payment records in the subtable, and this new sheet created with that subtable will have six records and three records from each invoice. So you will be able to execute the Stripe payment integration with these six records that you created from this subtable. Oops. After creating this subtable, you can configure Stripe integration there and execute the payments on the records created from the parent record subtable. Okay. Okay, I hope this is clear. Okay, next question. When I email an entry which contains a subtable or form, the layout of the content of the email is messy and disoriented. Let's take a look at the screenshot. Okay, I think this is Right. This is supposed to align right, or maybe align middle to look better. Hmm. Skew to one side and font size are not according to the Ragic sheet. Interesting. But I suppose when you're doing this, when you're when this is the printer friendly version, and the font size and the alignment should be, you should be able to control them with the design mode. So hmm let's try a simple test. Let's take a look at like maybe a sales order sheet. And a sales order sheet, if I do a printer friendly version, they should be looking pretty much like this with the numbers correctly aligned. Let me see why his record is not aligning correctly. Um, yeah, I'm not exactly sure why, because it's supposed to match the alignment. Let's say if you want to, specifically if you want the product name or like the product number to align right, you should be able to just change the alignment here. Like you can change the style and have it to align right and align right. Not that this would look good, but I'm just just showing you that these can be controlled by how the form is designed. Okay, see, this is align right, and when you do a printer friendly, it's gonna align right. So email and entry, because email and entry, when you're emailing an entry, it's basically using the printer friendly version. So every time you're referring to a record's layout, it's gonna use the printer friendly version. Yeah, so it's gonna align according to how you designed it in the design mode. So if you make the font bigger in the design mode, it's gonna look that way in the email. Let's say if you make this big, and this is gonna reflect in the printer friendly version. So if you go printer friendly, this is gonna look big. So pretty much you should be able to have more detailed control over how this look on your send entry by email. And the only thing that might cause a problem, I would guess that it might be because the sheet looks good when viewed like this, and it looks different when in a different resolution when you use send entry by email. But we'll have to take a look at each individual design to see if there's something that we can do to like automatically adjust the font size or the alignment according to different media resolutions. So, okay. Basically, when you send an entry by email, it's using the printer-friendly version of the record. The layout and font size, text alignment are based on your design in the design mode. You should be able to control how the form looks in design mode. If for some reason your sheet does not look like the way you designed it in design mode, please use the need help link at the top right of your account. Take a look. Okay, yeah, because supposedly, theoretically, you should be able to use the design mode to design the form, according to how you want it to look. So, yeah, but because we probably will need a little bit more detail or take a look at your sheet to know what's going on. Okay, are you going to implement an individual access right in the future? Group access right is actually a good feature. It helps narrow down permission for all users. However, there will come a time that it will be confusing. For instance, a single user in the same department must have different access right compared to his co-department for one or more sheet. And another user in the same department must have no access at all. But he must be in the same group so he can be chosen in the select user field. Okay. Basically, it's just like in NAS or Active Directory where users can access one subfolder but cannot access the other folder in the same shared folder. Okay, it looks like it's kind of a feature request for like excluding a certain user. I think it would be beneficial for all Ragic clients if access rights for individual user can also be amended. Okay, let's take a look at the usage scenario that Timothy has brought up. So if a single user, so it's saying that it's trying to exclude a certain user from that department to not have access to certain data. Because for your use case, it seems like if you're assigning access right individually as for each user in the group, it's gonna be hard for the system administrator to maintain. Because let's say if you have 10 users in your user group and you want to have one user excluded from a certain sheet. So, and if you assign access rights individually for each users in a group, you're gonna have to specify access right for 9 different users in that group. So you're gonna assign it 9 times. So if you add another like 3 users to that group, and those users also need to have access right to this specific sheet, you'll also need to add 3 individual people to the sheet access. So this type of SSRI setting feels like it's gonna be quite hard to maintain. So generally, we would like to keep SSRI management consistent, that you always manage SSRI settings with user groups. So in your case, if you want to exclude like 1 or 2 users in certain department to not be able to access that data, you should be able to create an extra group Like if you have 10 users, you can create an extra group that exclude these one or two users from that group, so that when you're using the access right setting, you could just um, set the access right according to that new group that you created. And when you're choosing the users, you could use the old group that contains those users in the old group. Yeah, I'm not sure if this explanation is clear. So you basically you're creating two groups, one group having all the users and the other group excluding the user that you want to exclude from the group. Because it would be much harder to configure access right if you need to configure the access right individually for each user. So basically, if it's like a NOS or Active Directory, when you want to exclude a certain user in a group, I think the best way in this scenario is to have an extra group to exclude this user. So let me know if I misunderstood your question. And for now, I think the best way to move forward with this type of usage scenario is to have an extra group for the same like department, but an extra group excluding that user specifically for configuring access rights. User group. The users you do not want access to this certain sheet. You can still use the old group when you are selecting users. But you can use this new group specifically for S-RIGHT configurations. All right. Okay, next question. Suggest to have tagging function specifically for the comment section. Okay, yeah, the add comment, yeah, in the comments, yeah, I get it. And yeah, I do think we have this in our development pipeline, but it has been postponed for a while. So I'll probably need to check back with our product development, like our issue database, to see if we can, who has this task and how can we move it a little bit higher. Yeah, I do feel like when I'm using Ragic, I use at quite a bit to say that I'm speaking to another person or I'm referencing a certain user in a database. But of course, right now, if you add a certain person in Ragic, it basically has no effect other than the text that the user sees that the user knows that you're referring to this person, but it's just basically just text. So he would like to suggest implementing tagging function like the social media, which will notify the user that was tagged. Yeah, this will certainly be pretty useful, and yeah, I think it's worth implementing. So also another example, one user would like to get attention of an entry owner to edit some fields in the entry by tagging his manager to give the instruction permissions. Tagging can help to notify the affected users faster and accurately because it pinpoints the actual entry. Okay, yeah, thank you for the suggestion. And we do have this in our pipeline. And yeah, I really like this feature. And I think I'll check with our development team to see how we can kind of raise the priority for this issue for this enhancement. All right, thank you. Thank you for your feedback. Okay, so that's it for the question for today, and thank you for joining on our Ragic Office Hour webinar. And, and if you have any further questions, feel free to use the Ragic questions sheet for the webinar, Office Hour webinar, and I'll talk to you guys in 2 weeks. Goodbye.